I broke my workbench. I've broken the vise, or rather the edge of the bench. You see, the bench is made up of lots of bits of wood that are finger jointed together, and these joints, I think, are points of weakness. And the vise is attached to the side of the bench, which is separate from the top. So if you clamp something thin just between the top and the other side of the vise, the side of the table takes the full force of the vise, and in this case has broken. So let me show you what I mean. I was making a simple little sanding block, and I clamped it here, and you'll notice that the table top, the bench top, only goes down to here, and then we've got the side, and it's the side that the vise is attached to. Now I had this clamped in the centre of the vise, but just to show you what happened, I'll clamp it to the one side so you can see what's happening with the wood here. And as I tighten it up, you can see how the wood has completely gone, and it's now just winding the side of the bench towards the other side of the vise. And I won't do it anymore because I don't want it to splinter out completely. But that's the problem. So how do I fix it? Well, I've had to think about this. Rather than trying to replace the side, I am going to I am going to glue a piece of wood across the face. Now I have a piece of sapele which unfortunately is a little bit too small. The crazy thing is, I have a piece of oak which would have been the absolute perfect size, perfect depth, perfect length for this job, except this was the piece of oak that I cut the sanding block out of that you've just seen fall to the floor. And it was the sanding block that broke the vise in the first place. So I think that's true irony rather than Alanis Morissette irony. I've got some softwood I could use for this, but I've decided to use elm. I've got a piece of elm here from my stock of vaguely exotic woods. It's apparently quite tricky to work with, but we'll give it a go, and we'll cut out a patch and we'll stick it on the side. This is very fiddly. Would have been easier to use power tools for this. There we go. Amazing just how good a hand sawn edge can be. I'm not going to bother planing that. I'm just going to sand it flat, get rid of the little bits of a few of the marks that I've got. I oiled the blade of the saw, so I'm just going to sand that, get it flat, and then the top surface I may well plane with the rest of the bench when I've got it all glued up. One of the problems I'm going to have, if you can see how loose the side of the bench is there, I think the glue joint's gone all the way along the top here, so I might try and squeeze some glue in there, but I'm going to be gluing this flush to the face there. I'll see if I've got one of my long clamps to clamp across the bench, and I think I will screw into the top as well as the sides, and that should be enough, I think, to give me some stability. The rest of the side is pretty stable, it hasn't broken. sure sanding it has really taken the finish off. It seems to have just polished it to a lovely sheen. So, let's see if I can take any of the surface off with... Actually, this is a little bit bad because this is slightly bowed out at the moment. Don't know. I'll carry on. A2 grit, that's all ready to glue. This is a 12.5mm drill, and I'm going to use it to countersink the heads of the bolts that will attach the vise. And I'm going to get it fairly accurate, but it isn't absolutely critical. Clamp this. That's actually worked quite well. Just got to do the other one. Unfortunately, I'm a fraction out on this hole here. So I'm just going to have to file it down a little bit. I think there's plenty of room in the top in the countersink just to bring it level. I mean, it will come level, but I'd rather there was no tension in it. That's looking good. So I'm just going to bolt it all together and make sure everything works. It feels like the holes are properly lined up, but we'll check that. And then I guess if it's all bolted, I can put the screw holes in, and then we'll take it all apart again and glue it. This has proved quite tricky to get in because this bolt is right by the leg and there's very little room to get. This is all I could get in. I can't get a spanner anywhere near it, and I may have to shorten the bolt a little bit because it's this obviously has to fit over the top of the nut. However, everything seems to be very, very smooth. I think that's far enough. I'm not going to take it all the way in, but that's enough to prove that it's going to work. Just make sure I've got all the screws located, and I think just the simple technique of hitting them with a hammer. Where's my hammer? than fireworks, that was. I need some pliers. Unless I can just bend it off there. There we go. Still quite hot yet. Good. That's now the right length to be able to get the socket over the end to tighten it all up. Now ready to glue up. I've decided I'm not going to try and force glue into the gap here because I just can't get the gap open because of the rigid side and the rigid top, even though there's movement there. But I'm just going to rely on the bond between the two surfaces to just keep everything stable. So, I've got a spread up. There we go. I think I've got everything to hand. So, let's do this. It's difficult to do this without completely obscuring the camera. I'm right-handed. Doing this left-handed is probably not really the best way to do this. And there goes the glue. This is proving to be a lot easier than I was expecting. I think these screws are about as tight as I can get them. more cleanup. There's quite a lot of squeeze out inside the holes. So those are clamping to the side, and this will clamp them into the top. I haven't got any more of these, but I think this should be sufficient. So there we go. It's had over an hour of clamping, so let's see what we've got. I think at some point I may plane the top down here, but it seems quite stable. Yeah, it's a little bit proud there, but that's okay. I think it always was, actually, to be fair. I haven't actually changed the position of the clamp on the inside. I'm not going to tighten it up because I don't want to stress it. I'm going to leave it a while, but I think we're fixed. I actually think I've improved this, you know, because this is going to be a lot more rigid. And now that I've got a solid piece of wood there, I won't be able to clamp things against the side of the bench, flush to the bench, but I don't think that matters. It would have been nice if I didn't have to do this, but this bench still represents fairly good value for money. You get what you paid for. The fact is that this bench still cost less than it would have cost me to get all the raw materials together to make a hardwood bench, or even a softwood bench, to be honest, with all the fittings and the drawer, and you know. And let's face it, I've spent less time on this than I would have done having to build my own bench, so I think it's worth it. I want to get on with making things like guitars. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Click like and subscribe and all that, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, and apologies for all the sniffing during this video. I've had a dreadful cold for the last weeks, on and off, since I came back from Barcelona, which was a month ago. I'm getting over it now, but it's still lingering on. At least I've got my voice back. Oh, bye.